Bear with me.
Okay.
And we are now recording. So welcome everybody to Introduction to Microsoft Teams. The basics of Microsoft Teams is what we're going to be covering in this course. We're going to really take a 30,000 foot overview as we go through this. And we do have additional sessions that you guys have all seen that really delve in more in depth into specific functionalities. But what we want to do is kind of give you guys a feel for what we're going to be. Here we go, more people coming in. All right. Give you guys a good feel for what we're going to be doing with Microsoft Teams as a college as we move forward and how we're going to use it. So that's going to be one of the most important things that we're covering in this session. And again, just kind of giving an overview as to what the capabilities are. So for those of you that just walked in, we are recording, so just please be aware of that for privacy reasons. And with that, I'm going to start off with sharing my screen. Hopefully everybody can hear me well. And I believe you guys should be able to see my screen now, can you?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So what you're seeing is the actual Microsoft Teams screen that I see before I shared. So it looked basically exactly like this. It's a nice, easy and clean screen. There are a lot of differences between Microsoft Teams and WebEx, and I will say that Teams has a multi-function capability that WebEx doesn't have. WebEx is primarily for meetings, or for video sessions or audio sessions, things like that. And Microsoft Teams has that capability along with a ton of other things. I think, this is my personal opinion, Microsoft looked at all of these different products that they have that are built into Office 365. They have, SharePoint for files. They have all the Outlook for calendars. They have the chat system. I think it was called Yammer at one point in time. They have Microsoft Stream, which streamed live videos. They have a phone system that they built and all these other bits and pieces. And they went, you know what? That's just too much. Nobody's going to use all these bits and pieces in all these separate locations efficiently. So they made Microsoft Teams to bring all those parts and pieces together. And so that's basically what Teams is. It's not a one-trick pony. It is really a fully functional, fully fledged tool that crosses all kinds of boundaries and really gives you a single pane of glass to use a bunch of different Microsoft products. So I think hopefully that we'll be able to show you that side of Microsoft Teams as we move forward. So the first thing I want to show you right now is, just like if you're used to WebEx, you're in a meeting, I'm going to show you the basics of just basic, super basic end user features within a meeting. So you guys can see my screen. I'm recording here so I can see the recording and I can see the name of the meeting. I can turn my camera on and off. I can mute myself. This on your screens, you probably have a little up arrow here. It looks almost exactly the same as it does in WebEx or other services. You click that and you get to pick what you want to share. We have the three dots. Again, very similar to WebEx. Everybody has the same type of system. So once you get used to one, you pretty much can navigate in another one, and you can click the three dots and can go through all the settings. We'll talk about all those in depth in our hour-long session that's specifically about meetings. We got raise a hand feature, and I do have a chat system here, and I do see there's a little red orange dot there, which means we have a message. So I'm going to click on it here. And so, Alan, that's correct. You're seeing my screen with the other people on it. So if I move over to bring up another window, you can see that window as it pops up. Okay. But what I'm hoping to do here is show you some of these features. This is one of the great things. You couldn't do this in WebEx easily. I had to have two computers and do all kinds of fancy footwork inside WebEx to be able to show you how to operate a WebEx meeting. With Microsoft Teams, I can actually show you from inside the meeting, which is handy. So again, you've got there for the chat. Inside the chat feature, again, we can talk a lot more about this, but you've got the ability to chat, and we'll talk more about all the different chat features that are available not only within meetings, but outside of meetings and all kinds of things when we talk about chats and calls in one of our sessions. And then your next icon is your show participants. I see your little elk horns there. And here we can see a list of participants. Just as a point for you guys to know, one of the first questions we got asked about WebEx was how do we download who attended? People wanted to see the list of participants that attended the meeting in WebEx. And we finally did find that. David McMurray, if you're familiar with him, our systems administrator, finally found that. It's been a few weeks ago now, but it took us several months to show you that Microsoft listens. When I'm inside the participants window here, I've got the little 3 dots and I click the download, and there is my download attendance list right there. So I don't even have to think about it. It's right there in front of me. Very, very easy, very simple to use. I do really like Teams. I'm more partial to Teams now than I am to WebEx. Again, we've got another chat here. There we go. Very good, Linda. So that's the basics. I mean, you guys are seeing it. If I minimize the Teams window itself, I can use whatever I want to be able to use, and you will be able to see that on the screen. Makes it very simple, makes it very easy to use. We'll talk about this more when we actually get into the meetings piece, but when you're sharing, it does give you an option, just like with WebEx, to share your system audio. So if you want to play a video, like maybe a YouTube video, you want to share that through your Teams meeting, you need to make sure you check that box. Otherwise, they're going to see all the stuff moving on the screen, but they're not going to hear anything. You will, because it's coming through your system, but they won't unless you say include system audio. With that, this is one of the other neat things about Teams. So pay attention to this one. Let's say you're in a meeting and somebody says, hey, you need to look up a file. You can do that. Over here on the left-hand side, you're going to see all different kinds of icons. And you guys, if you're using the web version, you may not see exactly the same thing, but I believe you'll see just about the same thing. You're going to see all these different icons. You can click on one of those, and you're going to notice that my meeting moves over into a nice little sub window so that I can move it around and I can still operate inside the program even while I'm in a meeting. Because again, Teams is a multi-function product. So I'm going to stop right there with the features. I wanted to start with those since we were in a meeting. I can go ahead and show you a few of those things. But what I want to talk about now briefly is what we are planning to use Microsoft Teams for as a college in the future. If you have used the intranet, if you have used our SharePoint server, Firecracker, those are two things that have files on both systems, and sometimes the organization isn't done as well as we'd like to be. And to be honest, from a management standpoint, it's an absolute nightmare. Permissions-wise, making sure that the right people can see the right things, and making sure that everybody knows where to go and they keep up with everything. And go here, but then you go to Jabber to chat, and again, all these different things that we do are spread out throughout the college. And what Microsoft Teams is going to allow us to do is bring all those services into one place, like I said. And so what we did is we started developing teams, and we've been very, very careful on how we've put these teams together. Originally in the system, anybody and their brother could create a team, and we haven't deleted all those, but there's tons of just random teams out there. And Microsoft really thought about this thoroughly. What is the concept of a team? What do teams need to share? And how do they need to be formed? And how do they need to be maintained? And they gave us a lot of great tools to do that. And so for a long-term concept, I want to introduce you to the all team members team. So if you've ever seen anything that Dr. Perrin sends out to the college as a whole, you'll remember that that is sent to all team members at laniertech.edu. That team, and everybody that's an employee is a member of that team, is also a mailing list. So a team in Microsoft, check one box, mailing list. So we know that Microsoft Teams does meetings, and now you've seen, the team is also a mailing list. So the email address for the team, when you email it, that'll go out to all the individuals of the team and be there. And then you know what the other great thing is there is a Teams there's an inbox for each team. So I wonder if I can bring that up for you. I don't think I have my email open right now. But again, they're bringing so many bits and pieces together. So let's say that you're a new employee. You don't know what has been sent out to all team members about COVID, and you want to be able to see that. So you open up your Microsoft Outlook, and if you scroll down over here on this side, you're going to find, oh wait, no, it's not there. It's up here. I'm sorry. Here, all team members. So just scroll down in that little section up top. And you guys, there it is. And every one of you, if you open up your Outlook, if you're on your work computer, you definitely should have it in Microsoft Outlook. I haven't tried the web version, but I'm 99% sure that it's there on that same left-hand side over here on that left-hand top side. So again, even if you are a brand new employee that just got hired 1 minute ago, this is the first time you logged in, you're going to be able to scroll back and you're going to be able to see Dr. Perrin's email from Monday. You're going to be able to scroll back and you're going to be able to find Dr. Perrin's things to know from October, back all the way through when this team was created, which was back in September of last year. It's been around for a year. I know the email address was around before that. We converted it into a team for that. So that is another feature. So now we've got mailing lists and the ability to go back and see historically what has been sent to the team even when you weren't a member. And that allows people that are new to the team the ability to catch up with communication that may have been going on. So next, if I go into all team members here, you're going to notice that the general format of teams is the same within a team itself. Each team is set up in very much the same way. You've got the title, and there's an icon that can be edited by the team owner, the name of the team, and then you have the team channels. So a channel is really meant to hold all the same functionality, but maybe you need to, within a team, let's say that you're an instructor and you're in John Dunbar's ATE division. I know John uses Teams extensively. John will create multiple channels over here for different discussions or different categorizations of discussions or files or things like that he's going to want to keep track of. Different sub-teams for meetings and things like that. So John, as a very advanced Teams user, has been given the ability to create his own channels. Most people won't be able to do that. By default, we give a team 2 channels, general and announcements. Most of the time in announcements, there's not going to be a whole lot there. We don't really use announcements very much. That may be something in the future that we do away with. It may be something that the college as a whole decides to use. As we grow our usage of Teams, we'll go back and forth on that and really kind of figure out how the college wants to use that. Most of the stuff you're going to do, 9 times out of 10, in any team, whether it's the all team members team or a team that is specific to you, is going to be in the general channel. So now inside of each channel, you have different tabs, and those tabs are across the top. By default, there are 2, posts and files. Anybody want to tell me what they think posts might be for?
Emails?
Could be, I suppose, but actually it's something more real time than email. It is for chats. So I don't know if you guys have used any sort of instant messenger system in the past. AOL had one, 20-something years ago. ICQ came along after that, and then it just expanded, and everybody and their brother has had some sort of an instant message system out there. This is an instant messaging system. So there's a lot of ways you can use that. And again, we're going to have an entire hour dedicated to chat, so I'm not going to delve deep into it, but I do want to cover the basics of it. Here inside, and Brad actually didn't remove those. I'm not sure why it's giving him credit for that. Inside the post thing, if you are an owner of the team for all team members, which is going to be a very limited number of people, you can go ahead and type things in. I'm not going to do it now. Anything you type in here, everybody in the entire team can see. So I'm not going to type anything in there right now. I do have a test team here I'm going to go into, and I can say test. And so again, anything that I type into this team is just a chat, and it's automatically going to show up just like this. It'll look exactly the same with my name, the date and time, to everybody else that is a part of this specific team, this LTC Test Outside Membership team. If somebody wants to, they can hit reply, and they can reply something back to me. I'll get a little notification that I've been replied to. And that can go back and forth. It's a real-time chat system. Again, the big thing about the posts tab within each channel is that it's available to all of the members of the team. It is not a private chat. Even though it may just be two of you talking right now, a new person gets hired tomorrow and they pop into this team, they're going to be able to see all those previous chats. So they'll be able to scroll all the way up and they'll be able to see everything that has happened within that team. And that's one of the things, again, I'll reinforce this one more time, that Microsoft Teams really focuses on is the longevity of knowledge. In Jabber, if you're familiar with that at all, it's one of the tools we use to have our phones available on our computers and to do instant messaging between departments. Jabber does not have any longevity. So if somebody joins the college and starts, there's nothing they can look back through in Jabber to see what other people might have said within the particular group that might have been talking. So they can't, learn from that history and get up to speed very quickly. They're forced to try to find time to sit down and talk to somebody who's already busy and already doing a lot of work. They have to interrupt that person's work schedule. And while that's excellent for building camaraderie, and most certainly should be continued, at least to a decent extent, the individual has to interrupt someone else's work in order to find information. Instead of just building camaraderie, it has to be an information sharing event instead of just becoming friends or creating working relationships there. Teams allows them to gather that information and then spend those personal times actually doing personal things. The other big piece inside, the other big tab inside of each channel is the Files tab. So I'm going to click that. And you're going to notice there are no files here. So this channel is not a great place for us to see. And I see I've got a chat over there. We'll go in there and look at that one in just a minute. I'm going to go into all team members, and you guys can do this exact same thing that I'm doing. You'll see the same thing inside all team members that I do. I click on Files, and each area of the college has its own folder here. This is a base of things. How do I put this right? There's not a lot of stuff here yet. It's something that we're working toward, and hopefully that's the plan, is to have everything migrated off of the file structure, migrated off of the intranet and SharePoint, migrated into here, and the organizational structure put in here in such a way that things will make a lot more sense. So think of this just like my documents on your computer, only this is a shared area where everybody that's an employee can come in here and access this. By default, of course, because this is every employee at the college, no one can change any of this documentation. You have to be given specific permissions to be able to change this stuff, because it is, again, accessible by every employee of the college. So keep in mind when you're looking at using a team, one of the components it can do, another checkbox it does after chat, is share files. We want to make sure that as we're sharing files, we know which team we're using it in, and we're cognizant of who is a member of that team and whether or not the members of that team need access to the information that we put in here. Because putting something out here in the all team members team is the same thing as emailing it out to every team member. And that's not something that you'd want to do with just any old document. You want to make sure that those documents are really put together in such a way that they're meant for all employees to consume. And again, there is an entire hour of sessions that we have set aside just to show you how to use the files. And really quickly, I can run through this. It's very simple and straightforward. I can click on information technology. There's a campus classroom listing here. There's some employee information, some how-tos, equipment ordering. I'm going to go into this folder called Technology Standards. And what I want you to see here, you guys recognize these icons?
Yep.
So remember how I said Teams was a single pane of glass to get to everything? Watch this. Let's say I'm on a Chromebook and I don't have Microsoft Office. This will work exactly the same. You visit teams.microsoft.com, you log in with your Linear Tech credentials, and you can access this spreadsheet from anywhere in the world. Well, I take that back. You can't log in from other countries, but anywhere in the United States. And this is Excel. And I, of course, being the author of this document, I can make changes in here. You guys wouldn't be able to, but you can see I'm already in editing view. So I can go right in and I can edit this document and make changes. I don't have to open up Microsoft Office. I don't have to check out a file as in the previous versions of SharePoint were. I don't have to do anything like that. I can edit this document. If others that have permissions to come in here and they edit this document, they would actually show up with a different color, and you'd see them coming in here to be able to do edits at the same time. So you could watch someone edit the document without doing a screen share, without doing anything else. It's really kind of powerful. It's a very, very interesting tool. And again, we're not going to go into comments or conversations, but in depth, but you can certainly do that. And these comments will show up as a new chat stream in the posts area that are related to this document. The comments will show up inside the document. The conversation area will show up as a new chat stream inside the posts area of the team. When you're done, see, there we go. There is Linda, and you can see she's purple. You can see who's editing up here, which cell she's in. It's purple, even if I'm on a different tab. I go up there. Where is she at? She's there. I can click go to location. It's going to take me directly over to that tab. And, well, where's she moved? That's okay. Yep, there you can see what she typed. You want to type anything else there for us in real time so we can kind of see it? Wonder if it doesn't show up in absolute real time. Normally it does. So, there we go. And you can see the three little dots as she's typing. And as soon as she hits enter, I believe that's what will happen anyway. Yep, there we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One of the other things you can do in here, again, we'll cover a lot of this a lot more in depth in the files thing on our files class. You can say open in desktop app. If I click open in desktop app, it says, are you sure you want to open this file? Yes. And it's going to actually launch Microsoft Excel on my computer. I can click edit workbook, and it's going to allow me to edit the workbook within Excel on my computer. If you have Excel, of course, which is a very nice touch. I think basically you get to pick and choose where you want to do your editing and your document creation at. Same thing is true for Microsoft Word here. We can click on this Word document. By default, it's going to open up. It's going to allow me to edit it directly right here. Or I can open up in desktop app, and it's going to open up. I've got the same basic features, comments within the document, conversations, that if I start that, it's going to kick over into the posts area of the team. Those are absolutely wonderful features to have. It makes it really quick and easy to create documents, to be able to view documents that somebody else has created. It's a very, very, very helpful thing. So basically, you've got your WebEx type features that we talked about with the meetings and the videos and the screen sharing and the recording and all those wonderful things. We've got the chat features, the live chat, all that kind of stuff. We haven't talked about it yet. There are audio calls. We'll talk about that in depth again when we're doing our chats and calls class. But instead of having a full video meeting, you can just have an audio meeting, no problem. And then you've got the files features here, which is very, very, very handy. These files, again, are shared with everybody that's in the team, so it can be very useful. In the IT team, we have a particular channel that we use to store all of our, we call it the Documentation Standards and Procedures, or DSP. And you can see that we've got a structure here for it. It's almost like a policy manual, but we can't call them policies. And so if you go into Series 800, there's all the documentation folder, documentation and procedure folders, and the standards themselves are listed as a Word document. Open that up and it'll come fully online. And you can see, again, I can edit this, do whatever I need to do with it. It's very helpful. One more thing, since we're in files, you can click up there to create new. If I didn't even have, again, I don't even have to have Microsoft Office installed on the computer that I'm using, and all this will work with a modern web browser. So pretty much any of the modern web browsers will work, and you can create folders, Word documents, Excel, PowerPoints, OneNote, which I'm not familiar with very much at all. You can even do forms in here, which is not something that we have a lot of experience with, so we're not going to talk about that too much. Uploading documents is very simple, files and folders. You can copy them. There's sharing capabilities from within here. We'll get into more. I won't cover them tonight. It gets a little bit too complicated for us to cover in this short session, but there's a lot of things like that you can do that if you think about it, somebody's probably asked and tried. Makes it really easy to do. So I've covered a lot of those features. There's some more here we'll cover in just a minute, but I wanted to stop right now and just ask you guys if you had any questions. Oh, it's crickets.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I think Alan had a question in chat.
Okay.
About categorizing the teams.
Okay. Alan, you want to ask that question?
Yeah.
Want me to ask?
Yeah. When I on the all teams all team screen.
Yes.
There were a lot of teams, and you had to keep scrolling down. Is there a way that you can create various folders and move teams into those by categories?
I don't think you can create folders here, but you can move them around. That's a very, very good question. I'm glad you asked that question. So if I wanted to say I wanted the iLead team to be further towards the top, because that's one of the ones I'm going to use all the time, it's actually just as intuitive as you think it would be. I click it and I drag it, and it moves it up.
Okay.
Click it, drag it, move it up. There is another view here as well. Where is that view at? I should remember this off the top of my head. I think it's here. So you click the little gear at the top and you can switch view. And there's all these different options that are here. And list view is what it used to be by default. So I know that. That's fine. Let me go back to the teams here. It doesn't want to let me go back. Let me try this. I wonder why. Oh,
your list is there. Yeah.
It is over here on the left-hand side. That's different. They changed that since the last time we've looked at it. So it does put the list over here on the side for you. And I'm assuming, yep, you can move those around too.
Yeah.
And how'd you get to that again?
The gear, which was available whenever we were in that, and when you're in the big square listing, right, there's a gear at the top up here that you can click on, and it will allow you to change your view from to list view, I think it is. Now the gear, when I'm in this view, is down here at the bottom. I can switch view and change to grid. So there's grid and list views.
All right, cool.
And one thing, if you're in the list view, because that's the way that I look at mine, is if somebody has made comments or anything in there, it will bold the team so that you know that somebody has done something within the team.
You want to do that in general in the IT team?
Okay, sure.
Actually, let's see if it'll bold the team itself. So I'm over here in the sysadmin team. Yep, so you see the LTC IT team just went bold. That means there's unread messages in there, and it's in the general channel. And I can click connect and see what's there.
Hey, Linda.
Hey.
So I'm going to go back to grid view here. And again, y'all, I'm going to be honest, Microsoft continues to add features to this thing. And we explore. I found new stuff this afternoon when I tested really briefly with David. I was like, where did that come from? When did that get there? He said last week, I think. So they're constantly making improvements to this thing. And it's very, very powerful. So we've looked at the teams, and to give you an idea of how we're creating these teams, the easiest thing, well, I don't have my VPN on. It might break my internet if I turn it on right now because of the way I'm set up. The way we create these teams is based on the organizational structure by default. Now, we create teams that exist totally outside the organizational structure because that's obviously something that we need. But we do try to create teams based on the organizational structure. So we have all team members, which will be every employee of the college. We also have full-time team. So every full-time team member is automatically added to the LTC full-time team. We have the Hall campus. So if your main base is at the Hall campus, you're added there. If you're multi-campus and you're not listed in a team for one of your secondary campuses, have your supervisor send us a help desk ticket and say, hey, my base is on Forsyth, and I have the LTC Forsyth team, but I go to Hall once a week, or I go to Dawson once a week. I need to be on that team as well. And we can make it an exception and get you added into that team. We also get down to, if you're in academics, there's an adjunct team, there's full-time instructors teams. Each division has its own team. Each division has its own adjunct team. Each division has its own full-time faculty team, its own administrative team. So again, across the organization, using the structure of the organization from the organizational chart, we automatically build these teams. And so people, as soon as they are employed by the college and HR puts all their data into Banner, we pull that out, and by default, they may get added to 10 teams, depending on where they are in the organizational structure. And again, what that does is that gives that employee direct access to the full history of that team. So if they want to see all the emails that were sent to only full-time, if they're a full-time person, they can see everything that's sent to all the full-time. If they're on the Forsyth campus, they can see all those Forsyth emails. They can see all the files that they need to have. There's no more of this calling IT, hey, they need the P drive, or hey, they need this R drive because they don't have it yet. Most of those things are done automatically. Now, there's still some things that aren't done automatically, quite a few. Eventually, we're going to do teams for each committee, each standing committee, and whoever the committee chair is, and or probably, I guess, Karen Miner as Dr. Perrin's administrative assistant will have ownership of that team and be able to move and add people in and out of those committee teams. We have the live chat team. If you guys were to take a look at what we did during new student orientation the past couple of terms, we had live chat available for students, and the new live chat system that we launched, actually everybody who is supposed to answer those live chats is now part of the live chat team. And so we can put our training materials in there. They actually answer the chats in there as well, which is really kind of cool. We use Microsoft Teams to bring live chat to our students on our website. And they can see basically anything that a team might need to share, they'll be able to put into here. Now, we have had people make requests for things that we did not create teams for at this point. Instructors would love to be able to have students automatically in their classes and create their own classes and things like that. And unfortunately, due to the way our systems are currently structured, and this is going back years and years and years, students are segmented out separately from employees completely, not some sort of a rule segment that keeps them apart, but they're literally in two separate systems. And the two systems don't talk to each other appropriately. So there's nothing we can do to provision those teams automatically or even, set those teams up easily. You can't put a student and an instructor in the same team right now. Now, with that said, instructors can use Teams for meetings, live synchronous meetings, just like they do WebEx, because they don't have to be a member of a team to do a meeting. Are you guys, did we use a team for this meeting? No, we did not. There was simply, just like in WebEx, a generic meeting room was created. You guys were invited to that meeting room when you signed up using Microsoft Bookings, which we will also cover in a training session probably this spring. and you're able to be here. You're able to, see my screen. I'm able to talk to you, and we're able to see each other, and that's a great thing. But unfortunately, we can't do pre-made teams. Students can't have that really wonderful experience they'd have. I mean, it would be awesome if the student could just come in, oh, there's my class, here are the files, because my instructor decided to use this, and it would all be there. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way yet. We're making plans to merge those two separate systems together, but I don't have any deadlines or dates for you yet, because it's a very, very lengthy and difficult thing to do, and we haven't had it quite get to the top of the list yet. Something just to notice here: if there are teams you're on that you don't really need to see, you're not going to worry about it. You can put them in your hidden teams area. So I probably should put a lot more teams in there, because most of these teams I don't ever look at, to be honest. And so you can move those down into the hidden teams area and just kind of get them out of your way. You're talking about there's a lot of them on your screen, Alan. That's a great way to do that. And that way you only see the things that you actually need to see.
Gotcha.
So with that said, I'm going to explore some of these areas over here that are on the side. We may as well start at the top. So activity. The activity stream is just a listing of everything that's happening chat-wise, etc.-wise, that involves you across all of your teams. So you can see this is a chat that came through on the IT team. You can see all those recent chats there. And then David and I were running a test this afternoon, and there's all the things we were doing during our test. And there's Linda. She was asking us to unlock an account for her, and blah, 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 and it moves on down and on down. So there's tons of different things there. Something in here, teams can do calls. So it knows your telephone number is, in this case, Chad's telephone number is 7053. So it shows a missed call from Chad Cathy, 770-533-7053, which is his desk phone. Right now, Microsoft Teams is a full-fledged phone system, but unfortunately, we don't have telephone numbers assigned to anybody inside Teams, and we don't have it tied to any sort of outside lines. So at some point, possibly, TCSG really sets a lot of things up for us as far as phones go. So they kind of control how all that works. But it's very possible at some point in the next year or two that we might enable actual phone calls in Microsoft Teams. So your desk phone rings and Microsoft Teams ring, and you can answer whichever one you want to. That way, if you've got your laptop, you got your desk phone with you. Again, we can do that now with Jabber, but it's another program you have to learn how to use. It's not built into something you can already get familiar with. That's again, the beauty of Teams. You learn how to use Microsoft Teams, and you're learning how to use a ton of different products within Teams as well. You're not having to flip back and forth between a whole bunch of different things. You get Teams installed. Oh, it's installed. It works. It does everything I need it to do. You don't have to maintain a bunch of different programs on your computer. So you also got my activity here, which that's going to show where I have posted and done different things. Or again, feed, which is just generically what's been done in all the teams that I'm a member of. Next down from there is chat. And here you can see this is the meeting that we're currently in. And then this is the test that David and I did. And a chat with David and Freshdesk, that's our help desk system, actually sends us information through here. So you can see tickets being assigned and things like that. So here we go. This is the team that we're in. And you can see who's here. And if you guys click over on chat, you should see the same thing, Introduction to MS Teams. You don't have to, but you're welcome to. Inside this ad hoc team that is just us, I can temporarily share files. I can do meeting notes, and then you could download those notes. There's a whiteboard in here. It takes a second or so for it to learn. Again, these are all things that pretty much exist in WebEx as well, but Teams does a great job of putting all the stuff in there. So you guys can see this because I'm sharing my screen, but I don't know what you may also see the whiteboard. If I wasn't sharing my screen, you'd see the whiteboard. There we go. And of course, there's tons of different things in there you can do. You can move them around, blah, blah, blah. So again, we're not trying to cover all the different things here, but I did want you to see those things that are here. If I wanted to join this meeting, here. I could hit join. This is the one that was just got David, myself. You can see the number 2 tells us how many people are in there. There's the only 2 people that are there. If I wanted to add another person, I could pop in, hit add a person. Anybody that's here, this is because this is an ad hoc team, I can decide what they could see. They will only see certain bits and pieces of the chat. I don't think I can add folks from outside. Again, Microsoft Teams really is meant for teamwork inside an organization primarily. They're going to expand that. I know it's on the roadmap. They just haven't finished all the work on it yet. But if I wanted to add Linda in here, I'm not actually going to add her, but I could add her in here, and she would be able to see all the bits and pieces that were going on that David and I had tested with. One of the things that always comes up, we've recorded a meeting, how do I get it? And this is what I was going to show you guys. You go over to chat when we're done, and this will work if you are logged in with your Linear Tech account. If you're not, I don't know that you'll be able to see this. That's going to be one of the catches. So I recorded this meeting with David, and you can see it's here. I can click on it. It'll open it up in the product called Microsoft Streams. You don't even need to know that. You click it, it plays. And then once that's open, you have an option to download it, and you could download that video if you want to, or just watch it through your web browser, either way. So I recorded the meeting and it's right there. For those of you guys that are logged into this meeting right now, when I finish, you're going to see meeting ended, and then you'll be able to see that recording listed right here. You'll be able to click on it at any given point in time, come back to it and be able to see it. What I'll do is I will download it, upload it to our IT YouTube account, and make it available to the college as a whole. But you guys will be able to get it right here. And you won't have to wait on me to upload it. You'll be able to see it. It usually probably take about 30 minutes after we finish our class here. You'll be able to see it.
It seems like a bit of an odd spot to put the meeting recording, but I guess it works.
It does. And again, it's meant to, basically it's going to go in the chat right after the meeting is over. So you can see we started the meeting and it's 12 minutes and so long, and it literally put it in there right after we finished the meeting. So it's a timeline and it's in order chronologically. I believe, no, it's not there. Anyway, you can go to Microsoft Stream and be able to download it as well. You know, for those folks that are not already part of the meeting, or if you want to give it more structure, like you were saying, Alan, it is kind of a little bit of a strange place, but for those people that just attended and they want to be able to go back and see it, it's very easy to get to. But I'm hoping that they give us another place, like you were saying, maybe a thing up here up top. If there's recordings that are part of this, that'd be wonderful. I just had a little tab that would list them for us. That would make a little bit more intuitive sense, I think. Moving on down, we've covered the Teams button here and how to change the different views and how to move these teams around. There's the 3 dots here. Again, we can get more into this at a later point. You guys aren't going to have access to add members, add channels. You might see these links there, but they won't be able to do anything. If you leave the team, I'm not sure if you'd be able to or not, you will get added back to those teams that are automatically generated, which is most of them, because of your place in the organizational structure. So if you left all team members, you get added back within an hour. It's going to stick you right back in there. We'll cover more in depth when we get into the chats. There's tags. There's all kinds of neat little things that you can do. The assignments thing, we're not even going to touch. That's something, because we don't have students involved right now, we're not really using this for classes or anything like that, so we're not even going to touch the assignments piece. The calendar is a team calendar, and I know people have thought about this and thought about this and thought about this for a long time. If you have a group, maybe a group of instructors or a group of staff members, and you need a calendar that everybody can see and everybody can work with, this is it. So I'm seeing this is one that's put in there specifically. My calendar actually shows up on here. I put that in there as a reservation. And if I schedule a meeting, I can click on the down arrow. I can schedule a meeting, or I can have a live event. And it's going to bring this up here. And I can type in whoever I want to add, put in dates and times, just like I would if I was in Outlook. I can even add a specific channel from a specific team. I can do all the standard recurring things. If there's a physical location and details, et cetera, et cetera. So I can add all that stuff in there. I can change the time zone. I've got a scheduling assistant, which if I add again add Linda in here, you're going to see there's her calendar. She's already in the same meeting that I am there. Otherwise, I'd see, free busy information as she went through. So it's really just a handy way to do it. One thing real quick to show you guys, when you're in your calendar, if you're doing a new appointment, let's say I was doing something for tomorrow morning from 9 to 9:30, and I double clicked there, everybody should have Teams meeting. You got your stuff for WebEx if you're familiar with that, but you also have Microsoft Teams. Don't do the Skype thing, please. But you have Teams meeting. You can put in people that you want to be here. When they finish, join Microsoft Teams. Again, you do not have to be in the same team. This does not have to be a person that is an LTC employee. You could invite other folks from other colleges or other agencies if there's a need for that. If you're doing like students, this is where you can put your students' email addresses in there and invite students to come into a Microsoft Teams meeting. And again, it's going to be online just like we're doing right now. You'll have all the capabilities of everything that we're doing right now. Only if it's not an LTC employee, they won't be able to access things after the meeting. You'd have to download and send it to them. But during the meeting, they'll have access to everything just like you do right now.
So Anthony,
Yes.
this is where we can actually schedule a meeting, a class session, correct?
You got it.
Okay, on the calendar.
Yep. And you can do it from your calendar, or you can do it from inside this calendar. Either way. Because again, I was inside. This is my Outlook calendar, just regular Outlook. And I can either click new appointment or new Teams meeting or double click a time, any way you'd normally get in to do a meeting. And I can insert the Teams meeting. And all it does is put the stuff down here for the people to click on.
Now that Teams meeting icon is not on my Outlook.
Okay.
I installed the Teams desktop program, so it's on my desktop, but I guess it didn't add it into Outlook.
Gotcha. When did you install the Teams desktop program?
Yesterday.
Okay. Have you maybe closed Outlook and reopened it?
Oh yeah, I closed it last night.
Gotcha. Okay. We can take a look at that and see. I'd be interested to see why it's not there. It may be that your computer hasn't gotten some of the updates that need to be there after the Teams desktop gets installed. There may be some other piece that it automatically does in the background, because I surely didn't do anything specific to make it there, but that's something we definitely need to look at. In the meantime, you certainly can come here and schedule it from within Teams on the calendar tab, the calendar
Right.
icon over here. We talked about calls, all different types of things that are in here. You got all your contacts, you got history. It even has voicemail, which just blew me out of the water. We use this all the time within our department because it rings everything everywhere. And I was trying to get a hold of Chad, and I called, and it went to voicemail, and I was like, voicemail? I was doing an audio call. I literally went to chat, and I found Chad's thing wherever it was, and I just used the little call right there, audio call. And I tried to do an audio call with Chad, and it went to voicemail, and he got it, and it emailed him. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. So again, it does have tons of different capabilities that it blends together. The next thing you got down here is files. So there's tons of files that I have recently accessed, and it'll show me when I was last in there. And this again crosses all of the teams. So this is the files from what you can see. There's teams from the IT team, all team members, my individual computer. So you can see all kinds of things there. Or I can go to Microsoft Teams and show only the stuff that has been looked at or edited. See, David McMurray actually worked on that. I didn't even open up that document. And you can see things like that here, that anything else that is part of a team that I'm part of. And if I've downloaded anything from Microsoft Teams, it'll show that here. And then I can go to OneDrive here. Again, don't even have to log into OneDrive. And I can get to my documents and my desktop that's on my laptop that's stored and shared out onto OneDrive. So it's very, very handy. And the last thing I'm going to show you is something I'm just going to touch on for about 5 seconds. Is this little 3 dots down here. And I'm going to click more apps. And y'all, there is no end to the different things you can add into Microsoft Teams to make it do. You can see there's just tons of things that you can do. WebEx meeting, even you can build that into Microsoft Teams. There's a Wikipedia search. There's forms you can add in. Poly, which is real-time polling. So if you're doing a class, you can add a poll to your class and poll your students in real time. If you're doing a poll of your coworkers, what does everybody want for lunch? And you can post that poll up in your team for the small group of folks that you're working with on a regular basis. And again, categories right here, and people are adding to this constantly. It's absolutely amazing the things that that Microsoft is adding to this on a regular basis. Live chat, that's one of them. Live chat is something that just was added to this, and it's really, really awesome. A question: if we invited students to a meeting, would it maintain the student privacy? Can you give me a little bit more information about what kind of levels of privacy you might be expecting there?
Well, like we're just asked to make sure that nothing we do that can be sent outside of college or anything like that. Right.
And yes, basically this inside Microsoft Teams, this is protected. You're using the desktop app. It's protected by your multi-factor authentication. The student will only see what they can see within that one meeting. They won't see what any other students saw unless you invite them into a joint meeting, which you can do like we did here. You can have multiple people. Just to give you a quick overview of that, I can hit this and I can put in, let's put Lynn in there and David. So I add both of them in there and give it about a minute or so, and I'm gonna get a little meet icon up here. I'd be able to do a video meeting. I can do an audio meeting. I think down here, stream may be the meeting thing too, but once I give it just a minute here, it's gonna show up with those icons up there. And so you could add those students in, and they would be able to see everything in the joint meeting. But if you do a one-on-one and that's the only student that's in there, then that's the only thing that they would be able to see is just what you were in the meeting with them. So I think that's pretty good as far as student privacy goes. Will it take the place of Collaborate Ultra? Not to my understanding. This is not meant to be a replacement for any sort of Blackboard instructional product, because at the current time, there is not a tie-in with Blackboard. And I know that TCSG loves Collaborate and they push Collaborate really hard. And I believe we're paying an extra fee to have that. I'm not sure. Again, instructionally, what I try to tell folks is you use what you feel comfortable with within the bounds of LTC policy and standards. So if you prefer Microsoft Teams, use Microsoft Teams. If you prefer Collaborate, use Collaborate. We're not going to raise one product over another, but we'll just present them to you and let you as an instructor make that decision. Other questions, guys? So that, and I'm going to unshare my screen here and double click and go back into the meeting, is really, again, it's a very brief overview of Microsoft Teams. We're coming right up on our hour. I don't want to keep us late. There's so much there that we can really dig into as we move into our more focused topics over the next few weeks. And oh, there is one more thing. Let me show you. And I'll show everybody again in files, but I want everybody to be aware of this. So if you're in all team members, and this is something I gave people directions for way back in March, which seems like about 5 years ago, you can add tabs inside of a team, and you can add a ton, and it can get overwhelming. So we're going to try to really restrict on the all team members team what kind of tabs we have. But there is a working remotely tab, and this gives you an idea of the capabilities of what you can do. Teams considers this a wiki page. So you remember how we have all these files, and how do you know where to go? It's just like SharePoint before. I've got to dig in here and figure out where all these things are, and how do I know how to find things? And you can use the search, and it searches every team you're a member of, and you get all these crazy results that are hard to do. Our goal in using Microsoft Teams is to keep the usability at a very high level So presentation of data is separated from storage of data. If you're familiar with those kinds of concepts, those kind of design concepts, we are going to present the data in a different way than it's stored. Storage and the organization of the storage is not something that you, unless you are the person storing the files, needs to worry about. So we need to give the people that need to find the stuff an easy way to find the stuff. And so that's what this was, because these are a combination of help desk articles, YouTube articles, there's links to files, there's links to all kinds of different stuff in here, but it's all put together in one place. And so while the files area may store all kinds of stuff and the organization may make sense to me, it may not make sense to anybody else. So what we try to do is add an area in which everybody can have an easy way to access that information. So again, we separate out presentation from storage and make the presentation as user-friendly as possible. And that, as we hit our hour mark, is all that I have.
Cool.
So if you guys saw the email, we're expecting to ramp this up over the next 6 or 7 months. And at the end of March 2021, we will retire the old SharePoint website, have everything migrated over into Microsoft Teams, and we will convert the intranet into a reporting only website. So any files, documents, and files that were stored there will be migrated into Microsoft Teams, and that will be a reporting only website, probably called reporting.lineartech.edu. All right. And again, we'll cover tons more when we get into our individual topics. You guys can attend every one or not. And they are being recorded. So please keep that in mind. If you can't make a session, no big deal. You can obviously watch those recordings at a later point in time. With that said, I'm going to stop this recording.
Where are the